Hi, my name is Sunny Jung. We decided to do the dice game called Pig. Here it goes. So it's a fairly simple game. We designed it to have the complementary color background of white and red, a little bit of mix of orange as well. So we have a button for game rules if the players are not familiar with the game rules. The game rule goes as it says. For one, all players are given one six-sided dice, which they'll take turns to roll. Second, all the players then take turns rolling the dice. Whoever gets the highest value starts first. If it's a tie, you repeat till the tie is broken. Three, the starting player rolls the dice. The player can keep rolling the dice and try to score as many points as they want in their turn unless they roll a 1. If they roll a 1, all the points accumulated in the turn is lost, and it is now the next player's turn. And the last part of the rule, to win the game, a player must reach 100 points first. Now I'll be talking about how the game works out. So if player 1 decides to go first, it rolls the dice. If you press the roll dice button, the dice will have an animation of about 1 second, and each implement of the roll dice, it will have a case system where it changes around between the images files that has been stored with different dice numbers accumulated based on the random, and it will play a sound before the animation goes through. I will show the code right here. The code on right here from lines 97 through 116. The audio rate is where the sound and the dice animation is happening. There will be a 0.2 second pause for the sound, and the total of the whole dice animation is 1.2 because the sound is included, with a pause of 1 where the animation of the dice rolling happens with the dice rolling GIF from the images file. And the rest are the case system where each roll, if dice went for 1, then it will go for a dice 1 PNG file, image file from the images. And that's how the dice animation works out. Thank you. Now I'll be explaining about the different screen button. So the different screen button is a little different from the same screen. Same screen is using one player view, but now a different screen is used for multiplayer usage. So from our proposal, we mentioned that we're going to be making it automated, which means that it automatically sets the players into player 1 or player 2. However, we decided to do manual designation, which means that the players have to select either their player 1 and player 2. So that's a different proposal than what we thought. And lastly, it's the concept of the graphical user interface in a different screen is the same as before, with the sounds to be and the dice animation to be 1.2, and it uses a case switching system. Thank you.
Hello, this is Ilana Tesfaye, and I'm here to explain the inner workings of the code. Specifically, I'm here to explain the table and how it works. So just to show as a demo, I'm going to use the same screen function and designate turn order. So as you can see, I have player 1 and player 2. If player 1 starts first, they rolled a 1, which means that their score is updated into the table as a 0. It is now player 2's turn, so they will now roll and have received a value of 2, which is then updated in the table. As I turn and player 1 also rolls a dice, they roll a 6, and the table is updated. Now to show you how this code works in the actual file, when we go to the same file and we go to end turn pushed, or not end turn pushed, but roll dice function. We have one for each rolled dice, but we have this function or this if statement that basically checks if the dice roll is equal to 1. If so, the score is set equal to its initial score, so the score it had before it was rolled, minus change being the amount that the dice was rolled. So if you roll a 4 and your score was a 2, your score would be 2. So it'd be 2 equal to 2. Well, your score would be 6. So 6 equal to 6 minus 4, and then +1 to account for one being rolled. But if you do not roll a 1, your score, your initial score, would be added to the score like itself plus the dice that you rolled. And then it also checks if your score is equal to 100, which is the win condition for the game. It sends a message saying that your player has won, and then updates the ThinkSpeak field, which my groupmate will get into later. And then it also updates both scores to 0 and ends.
Oh, this is Pranav Prala for Group 15 for the Dice Game Pick. Here I'm demonstrating how remote gameplay would work using ThinkSpeak. So for this demonstration, I'll use different screens. When I press different screens, the button, it basically opens up this multiplayer menu where I can choose to be player 1 or player 2. For the sake of this recording, I am currently playing as player 1, and the opponent on a different screen, it will be playing as player 2. So if I select player 1, it closes this app and it'll open up a app to open up for player 1. So now I can choose to roll the die and end the turn. So when I roll the die, I get 5, and I can roll the die again, a 9. So here I can choose to end the turn. And when I end the turn, it sends the data over to player 2, where player 2 can now roll the die. And once they're content with the amount of score they get, they can send it back, the data back to here. And we'd get it back to player 1 with the actual information of how much player 2 has scored, the amount of points. So I can roll the die, and it sent it back to player 2 now. And now player 2 can roll the die. And if they got a 1, so it sends it back here. And the turn. Now, how this actual code would work is that for player 1, it has these user-defined objects where it's my turn, other turn, player 1 score, start score, other score, channel ID, write key, read key, other wins, read delay, and write delay. So here I have a function which is check for turn, where it basically sets an increment by 1 to start as the starting, and it pauses for a second before reading the channel of 5, which is how many wins the opponent player 2 has gotten. And it omits the first turn until it's 1. Once the amount of wins for player 2 is 1, it starts to count that field where it'll update this field for player 2 wins to try to account for how many wins they have. And for this portion, it now reads the third ThinkSpeak channel, which is the turn. And if it's the turn, it will enable the buttons. And if it's not the turn, it'll basically update the opponent's score that they got and go back to the start of this function to keep looking until this case is met. And here it's the increment, which is there to count if the opponent has scored a win. And if they have scored a win, it basically makes the score 1 equal to 0 and change 1 to 0 to initialize the score, signifying that that the opponent has won the game. And here in the starter function, it starts off by setting the initial turn value as player 1 to 1. So player 1 would always start the game. And here it reads the data and goes back to the this function if it is not the turn of player 1. And it's the similar roll dice where it gets the information and it displays the image and the rolling animation and the table. And here is a winning condition. The if loop is to see, all right, if a player has scored above 100 or 100 points, it creates a box saying player 1 has won. And this is similar for player 2, where it's player 2 has won. And it initializes this for both player 1 and player 2 to create a fresh round. And it writes that data into the field for to show that player 1 has won a round. And for the end turn, when a player chooses to end their turn, right here, it plays the audio of it, updates the score, and it basically reads the turn. And what it does is it writes this turn as now it's players 2, while updating the first field, which is player 1 score, to the amount of score, and it disables these buttons to allow for the other player to be able to have their turn, and it goes back for check for turn function at the top to allow for it to keep reading the data until it's their turn again.
Hi, my name is Sunny Jung. I'm in Group 15. I did the graphical user interface part of the project.
My name is Pranav Prala. I'm in Group 15. I did the remote gameplay part of the project.
I am Izana Tesfaye, also in Group 15, and I worked on getting the table and game winning functions working.